What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Lou Reviews. I'm your host, Luis Jimenez. This is your home for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Man, almost didn't do a show today. This has been a really nice, long, relaxing weekend / week / long weekend. Not gonna lie, it was tough. It was tough. Nevertheless, we go on. Anonymous Rex, B. Baker, I'm not here, this isn't happening. Simon Fly, HTID Tricky, Area 503 Manny, Bradbury, Zeta Retic, Zeta Cat, Zeta Recatuli, Yoshi, what is up, you guys? Mama's Dope Boy, thank you all for being here on July 5th, the day after Independence Day. That would have been kind of a cool movie. Independence 2 sucks so hard, but the day after Independence Day, that would have been a sick flick. I still think that's a flick you could do now. What happens to all the aliens that survived those crashes? How were they hunted down? How did the United States military figure out some of the other technologies that they were using? There's a lot of cool open doors that I don't think have been explored properly in the Independence Day multiverse. But who knows? Maybe one day. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe, tell everyone about the show. Rate and review if you're listening on podcast. And if you really, really, really love this show, check out the Patreon in the link down below, or become a YouTube member, or just donate through Super Cash. Just donate through Super Cash. That's a thing. It's delivered by Falcon. Super Cash. It's an app that gets you a Falcon to deliver cash straight to me. So if you've got Super Cash, I accept Super Cash. I was gonna say super chats. If you got a burning question you just need to know. Look at this one. Oh, hold on. You know what? I haven't. This is what happens when you haven't. When you haven't done a show in a week, is you forget things like this. I think, right? No, where is it? No, I think that's it. There we go. Oh my God. Oh, Michelle. I mean, nobody. You know what? I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this with you right here. Oh my God, you're so funny. Okay. So, things that we could talk about for today's show. I see we've got Michael. Oh, we've got Michael in the back. Michael, thanks for calling into the show. Hold on a second. Wait, Michael, can you hear me? Hello, Michael? Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, by the way, guys, it's a call-in show. So if you want to call in, there's a link at the top of the chat linked. Yeah, no problem. Take your time.
Now I can hear you.
Awesome.
What were you saying?
Oh, well, I was going to say, before I noticed that you were sitting in our green room here, I was going to say we could talk about Terrence Howard and Eric Weinstein swapping gray matter. I wanted to, either way we're going to do this, but I wanted to just throw out a very friendly reminder that Mick West has already debunked Marieke von Kloppensteff.
Yeah, well, I never heard of that guy, and I didn't. So.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, he's a fake journalist that works for The Hill and just harasses the hell out of Mick West. And I just want to remind people that there is a discussion between Mick West and an Fleer expert that Marieke brought to the discussion. And he ended up turning the expert not against Marieke, but he agreed with all of the points that Mick was making. So it was just a wonderful conversation.
Put it to you this way, Lou.
Yeah.
I believe in UFOs. I've seen them.
Yeah.
7 different sightings.
7.
So, 7 different sightings, which is amazing because most people don't even see them once, which is unfortunate, I guess.
Yeah.
But as far as all these stories that come out, other than if they describe a sighting and it's similar to all what other people that have cited stuff and what I've seen, and it's pretty, accurate as far as I could tell, I believe them. But this stuff about like Serpico's story and going to other planets, and that's just a little over the top for me. That's just the way it is.
So where do you draw the line there then? Versus what you don't believe versus what you do believe. What's the line for you? And by the way, we got another caller. I'm going to bring him in, Pip, also known as I'm Not Here, This Isn't Happening.
Well, you know what? Maybe let's just save that discussion for the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are doing the show. The show's live right now. We're actually doing it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Are we on?
Welcome to the show. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I had you talking in the background there, so I had to mute the site. But anyhow,
yeah, that could be why, because I think you're watching on YouTube and then also talking to me through this app here. So you're listening to yourself on a delay.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
now that I got that straight, but so where do I draw the line? That's a good question. I mean, and I don't mean even just because I may not believe what some people are saying, doesn't mean I hate them. Doesn't mean that I think they're, psyops or whatever. They believe whatever they want to believe. Maybe they're living in a fantasy world. I don't know, and I really don't care. But I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's just BS. But at the same time, I know that there's thousands of people out there that have seen UFOs that see their sightings. I'll go through the first time I saw a UFO.
Okay.
I was outside having a smoke. At the time, I was living in Banff, Alberta. And I went outside for a smoke, and I could see Tunnel Mountain from where I was standing. And Tunnel Mountain, where these lights was about 1 kilometer away, because it's across the river. And these lights are bouncing in and out, in and around the trees. And at first, I thought that was parks, lights from their trucks and stuff doing something in the forest. And I probably debated for about half an hour as to what these things were for, 45 minutes, I should say. And watching these lights go in and out of the trees. But what you noticed was that there was one light that was white, flashing on and off sometimes. Sometimes it would change color. There was a red light that flashed on and off, but not in any particular pattern. And then a third light that went through the entire color spectrum. You could see purples, greens, oranges, any color you could imagine was in that light, and it would rotate through like the color spectrum. But the main colors like yellow, green were lasted longer than the other colors did. So it rotated through the colors. And then when these things took off, there were two of them, and they're scouring around the trees. And when they took off, they went straight up into like a 90 degrees straight up, and left a streak of light behind. But they entered into the atmosphere in less like in the within the blink of an eye. And when I saw them take off, that was what convinced me that it was a UFO. Now, whether they were aliens or not, I have no idea. I can't prove that. But my better gut feeling is that, yeah, these guys are not from planet Earth. That's for sure. Because it's not Chinese, it's not Russian, it's not balloons.
What about American tech?
No.
Why? How do you know that?
Because Americans don't have that kind of technology. If anybody had that kind of technology, they'd own us. And whoever does have that technology,
right? But if we owned it, then we wouldn't have a need to own ourselves, right?
If we owned it,
yeah. I
mean,
we
if it
pretty
was
much
ours, why aren't we using it? You know what kind of power that takes?
Because it's
just take off like that, and if there was a human in the craft, they would be splattered on the walls.
We have nuclear weapons. We don't use those.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of things in the military arsenal that we don't use. We only have them there as sort of a deterrent.
Well, regardless, that's what I saw, and that was my experience. That was my first sighting.
Well, let me ask you this:
were not as exciting, that's for sure.
Well, let me ask you this. We got another caller, Adriel, and I see I'll bring you up here in a moment. You were saying, how there were stories there that crossed the line for you. So then what do you say to the person that hears your story and they say, yes, I believe you, but I also do believe that you misidentified an unknown thing. And the leap from I don't know what it is to, well, it's got to be alien because we don't have any of those things, knowing that you don't know whether or not we have something that might be able to mimic what you saw because you don't have top secret access and classified.
Because of the whole UFO history. I mean, our pilots have been seeing these things since World War II.
Right.
Michael, can I just ask you a very quick question?
Yeah, go ahead. Anything.
What's your normal way of making a living? What's your expertise?
I'm retired now. But
what did you used to do?
Huh? What did I used to do?
What did you used to do?
Locksmith. I was a locksmith for 40 years. So,
okay,
that was my trade, and that's what I did.
I've actually just posted something on my Twitter timeline, which you might want to look at, Lou, and probably even post it because I think it's relevant to this conversation and also kind of illuminating about sort of how we draw conclusions and how we arrive at the things that we do. But I'll let you continue, Michael. You might want to put it up, Lou. I don't know if you can.
Yeah,
but,
is it this? Find it very funny. Yeah, is it a gentleman who's speaking in front? It looks like a stand-up set from the BBC.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
okay.
A British comedian.
I can definitely play this, but you guys here in this call-in room, in the green room here, will not hear it. Adriel, hi, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
How are you doing today?
We're doing well. So real quick, before we get too far off, since this video kind of has to do with what we're talking about, if Adriel and everyone here, if you could just mute your mic, and if you want, you can hear it on YouTube if you're watching the show on YouTube, the clip I'm about to play, if you're interested in listening to it. So let me go ahead and I'm going to mute your mic, Adriel, for you. So that way, that's good. Michael, I'm going to mute your mic as well. Pip, you're muted. Okay. I'm going to play this clip here for everyone. This is the clip that he just mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, that highlights. It highlights it beautifully. I hope all you guys were able to hear that here in the green room. But that it's a beautiful point. Like, I don't have a degree in archaeology, biology, marine biology, astronomy, any sort of ology or onomy that requires a degree of any kind. But I'm pretty sure the thing that I saw was alien. It's just like, you can't. It's a line in the sand for me. Like, I can't follow you down that path, because I, just like you, Michael, have also had, an experience close up with multiple people. But it's a really old memory. And I'm open to the idea of, it's more likely that I misinterpreted, and really everybody that was there misinterpreted what they saw. And on top of that, even if you can find every single witness, I guarantee you every single person's memory of it is going to be different. Ridiculously different.
I think the thing for me that really sort of nails it is the fact that people make all of these assumptions without any scientific knowledge, without any aviation knowledge, without any understanding of the technology, without any understanding of the limits of that technology, without having understanding of the national security apparatus, without having any real understanding of how these processes work. There's so much ignorance, and in the light of that ignorance, to come to any conclusion is a fallacy. It's a delusion. It's a way of sort of kidding yourself that you understand something about something when you have absolutely no idea about it. But before we kick off into sightings, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, Lou. I was watching the UFO Shane Space today with Chris Bartell.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, before we get into, I just wanted to sort of get your take on this, and maybe we could talk about it later in the show. I don't know, but it might come up.
Yeah.
But one of the things that struck me was that when you hear people like Chris, who's obviously incredibly articulate, he's obviously saying some really interesting things in this space. He obviously knows what he's talking about. I would like to see some evidence of his involvement in those in with his military background, just to get that verified.
Right.
But the critical thing for me is, I find it interesting that all of the people that come forward seem to, no matter what their stance, there is an element of woo that still exists. And I'm very curious about the level to which those belief systems are common in that intelligence and military sort of community, because it just feels as though it's an awful coincidence that all of those people who get introduced into that world seem to already have those beliefs. And I'm just wondering, how does that connection be made between those beliefs and what those other people are doing? It just seems sort of very, very coincidental to me. And it just smacks to me of, are these people being groomed in some way? Are they being recognized as being open to these kind of things more? Is there some sort of... it just seems very strange that those people that do come forward, they always seem to have some very strange ideas and beliefs. And that sort of feels incongruous to me when you think about the types of people that are involved in those activities, the level of security that they have, the seriousness of the nature of the work they're doing. I would feel as though there'd be more checks and balances to ensure that there aren't people around who are possibly, involved in thinking about things that do you know what I mean? It just feels that there's this strange connection between finding people in those communities that have those beliefs, and somehow they always get pushed to the fore of these programs, and they always get pushed to the fore of this community. There seems to be no one that comes into this community that's just a straight up, like, I'm a general and I don't believe a word of it, and I saw this and I saw that, and it's all bullshit, and that's it. I don't believe in anything. there seems to be no one like that in this space. They all seem to have some sort of woo element. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
well,
that
I
Chris is
mean,
in any way disingenuous, but there's always that woo element, and I'm just wondering to what extent is that woo element being exploited and why?
no, I think you're right. I think I would rather call the woo element a personal belief system.
Fine.
Only,
Okay.
only because I feel like that's what it is. It's a personal belief system that they bring to the job, they bring to the table. And I think it's depending on what kind of security clearance they get. Like when we talked to John Ramirez, he said that they were interested in his extracurricular activities outside of the CIA, one of which being like he lives in Sedona. He found his wife on an alien abduction meetup group, where it's like you meet other people who were abducted. It's like farmers only, or if you're looking for a certain a religious sect kind of dating website, but this is just for people who've been abducted. He would go to alien conventions and things like that, and they asked him questions about it. They took interest in it, and his explanation to it was that the CIA doesn't want clean cut, cookie cutter agents all the time. Sometimes that kind of thinking and that kind of person doesn't always succeed when it comes to doing work for the CIA. And when he explained it like that, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but it could also be used from an intelligence standpoint from his higher ups to manipulate him even more into his belief. For whatever reasons those would be, whatever motivations that would be. That's like I think when it comes to Dave.
What's your take on Chris?
On Chris, I'm still trying to get him back on the show. And I mean, when I heard the parts that I heard last night, I asked him if he had seen the actual wolf that he was talking about with the tracks. And, there's more questions I want to ask him about it. So I don't want to come to a conclusion, but I think he's open to the idea that what he saw was just a wolf. And maybe there is a very rational, reasonable explanation for why the footprints look the way they do. I was thinking about it all night, and I wish I had thought of it there on the spot. But what if the wolf was injured? What if one of its legs was hurt, and he was walking in a weird pattern that made the pattern looked, not like normal wolf tracks? He said that there were only 20 wolves within the state of Utah, so it would be pretty rare to see a wolf on the property, period, so kind of implying a little bit that and this is what I kind of wanted to dig in with Chris a little more, like, is he implying that it's more rare to see one of those 20 wolves on that property versus, a werewolf that walks on its hind legs? Like, which one's more rare? The thing that actually exists that we know are tracked in your state, or the thing that produced weird footprints, but you didn't get a very good look. It doesn't sound like he got a great look at it. He didn't get a good enough look at it to definitively go, yeah, man, it was a werewolf. Like, it walked on its hind legs. It had hands, or like, opposable thumbs. Its eyes glowed red. Like, there's none of those details, right? It's just the footprints and a wolf. When he describes the report that they put that occurrence in, I was a little, I just had more questions about the details of that, because one guy was hesitant to put it in, but Chris wasn't hesitant to put it in. He was actually adamant about putting the wolf details in the report. So I'm curious to know how they entered what it was into that report. Was it a wolf-like creature, or was it a wolf? Like, I don't know. I have some questions about like the details of what they reported, so because I want the details of what he saw. So I think some of those details are a little blurry for me right now. The other things that come along with Chris Bartell, are, and he's even admitted this, like, he has a belief system. He's open to believing. The way he was raised by a Native American mother, like, he has lore that he grew up on. So therefore, I think that he was primed perfectly to believe.
But I mean, I respect that completely.
Yeah.
I understand that, and I think that that's a cultural heritage which, allows for some beautiful things.
Yeah.
And spirituality is a really important part.
Definitely.
Of our lives, and it's
I'm not.
so.
And I appreciate you kind of like pausing me there, and I'm not trying to put it as if it's a negative thing, like I don't want to express that, being raised like that is somehow negative. I think, like you said, Chris is a very spiritual person. He's very in touch with who he is and what he believes in. He carries himself as if he genuinely cares about discussing the topic and trying to genuinely get to the bottom of what he experienced, and what he's heard of, just like what we've heard of. So yes, I definitely, but I also believe he was primed beautifully to maybe submit a report where he saw some weird big tracks and maybe saw a shadowy thing that could have been on its two legs for a short amount of time. Like, I don't know, because I don't know the exact details. How long was the experience that when you saw it? What did it look like? There's so many questions, because the first time I spoke with him about this topic, and I have to go back and maybe unlock it from the old Lou Reviews vault or the UCR vault. But I don't remember him telling me that he actually had eyes on the wolf. I could be misremembering that, so that's why I kind of want to go back and listen. But since he's had, according to his interview last night, he had eyes on the wolf not once but twice. So I'm curious to know, like, I want more details of exactly, what he saw.
Okay, thank you. Look, I'm gonna step out and let you talk to the other people now. So thank you.
You don't feel like you have to step out. If you want to mute and listen, that's cool too. Adriel, I say you've been patient. You've been sitting there waiting. I can unmute your mic for you. Thanks for being here. And if you can, just mute your YouTube stream right now, because it's echoing.
How do I do that?
Are you watching it on YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah, go to the YouTube tab and then just mute the show.
Yeah, you can do a right click at the top of the tab and look for the menu that says mute site.
Oh wow, I didn't. Hey,
sorry.
thanks for that, Michael. I didn't know that was a little shortcut there.
Yeah, I'm a nerd.
No,
Settings.
No, not settings. Like you're.
I have audio here for the mic, or no?
No. What I mean is you're watching the show on YouTube, correct? Nope, he just ended his.
Looks like he just ended himself.
Yeah. We'll wait for him to come back. In the meantime, Michael, what is there anything you wanted to add to what
the
Pip's
wolf
been?
story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is sometimes I look out the window at night and I think I see people doing something, and it's just shadows. It's just my bat. I just had my cataracts done, so I got better eyesight now. But before, it was like you'd see things that weren't there, and that's probably what he saw. He may have seen a wolf, but then the shadows and different different. If it's in the dark, you can see almost anything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist. It's just how things work out. It's like if you go out at night and you stare at a star, okay, and try not to blink and just stare at it, it will start to look like it's moving around.
Yes. Well, especially like Venus. If you've ever seen Venus off the coast of California, holy cow, man!
No, I've only seen it off the middle of the continent.
The first time I moved out here, when I moved out here in 2010, and we lived in West Hollywood, and on certain days you could see, during the sunset, you'd get Venus over the coastline, and man, it looked like it was dancing around. It was pretty wild. And it took me a little bit to figure out it was Venus, but yeah, we figured it out. But Adriel's back. Let's see if we figured stuff out here. Adriel, you here?
Yeah, but I still didn't figure it out. I just got you back on, but where am I supposed to go?
Okay, so what internet browser are you using? Like Google or?
Yeah, Google.
Okay, so you see at the top where you've got the YouTube and you've got the StreamYard. And StreamYard is what we're on right now, right? But you've got the YouTube where you're watching my show, right?
Yes.
Okay, so right click on that tab, and then you should see a button that says mute site. If you right click on that tab. No, it's okay.
I'm on my phone right now.
Oh, okay. That's why. Maybe just shut off your YouTube. Just exit out of your YouTube completely.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That'll also work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he can't see tabs, because he's on his phone.
Where it says leave. Let's see.
Yeah, just swipe up on the app. Like, you know how you can switch from app? Are you using an iPhone?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm using an Android, so how do I do that? Not the go back, not the arrow back button.
I don't know. I don't want to give you the wrong thing. I think you're okay. I don't hear the echo right now, so I think we're okay.
Okay. If it acts up, let me know.
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, so welcome to the show. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
What's on your mind?
I've been trying to get a hold of you for a while. I tried a long time ago, and then I stopped. I did the rounds on trying to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
5.5 years ago. Well, let's start with, I've seen 4 UFOs, and I filmed, or with my phone, I caught 2 of them, 4th of July 2014, and I still have that video, which I'd be happy to send to you, so you could check that out. But
what date was that again?
Excuse me?
What date was that again that you said you caught them? July?
4th of July 2014.
Okay.
And there were 2 other witnesses with me. And I could tell you how that happened, which was pretty weird. We're watching the fireworks. And
Ariel, was that during fireworks? Like,
yes.
Yeah. I had a sighting like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was towards the end of the fireworks. My friend was taking his wife and their kid back to the apartment, which was next door to the park that we were at. And so I proceeded to fold up the blanket. As I did, I looked up at the fireworks and I saw this orb, and it was strobing, and it looked like it was going from way up there and coming straight down, like towards the fireworks and above the fireworks, almost like if somebody was pointing a laser pointer, and it wasn't, it was stopping, like it wasn't like a light going from Earth to the stars. It was just a dot, and it was flickering. And so I watched it for about 3 minutes, and I was trying to figure out if my mind was playing tricks on me or not, because it was just moving so erratically, but like it would also just sit still. It'd be like boom, boom, going in and out, and then it looked like it was interacting with me. And I looked over and I saw my friend coming back. That's how long I saw it. I didn't see it the whole time he was gone. He was gone for a few minutes, and then I started to fold up the blanket. But he came back and he saw me looking up, And so he started looking up, and then I looked back up at it, and then it was gone. And he goes, "Did you see that?" And I said, "I've been watching it for the last 3 minutes." Anyway, 20 minutes later, we're telling another friend about this. And he said, "How come you didn't take out your phone and shoot a video or something?" And I was like, "Man, I didn't even think about that." And when I said that, I said, "Come back, come back, come back." And on the third come back, boom, there it was. And about 2 minutes or so into the video, another one appeared. And those, so, I mean, it wasn't like delayed. When I said that 3 times, right after I said that, pink, it came on. And I said, "There it is." And I grabbed my camera, they grabbed their camera, and I started to shoot the video. And my friend narrated. And like I said, I still have that video. But what I'm going through now, I'm not sure if it has anything to do with that particular experience or that experience. I've also seen a UFO 3 times or 4 times after that. And I know that sounds like nonchalant, but what I'm going through now is pretty weird. Okay, so 5.5 years ago, I walked into the house, and my roommates are standing in the living room crying. And I'm going to release a little bit of information here. He told me that his dad was diagnosed with cancer, and they were going to start sending some healing energy to him. And they were about to start a meditation. And I felt compelled to sit down and send some healing energy his way. I just thought we were praying for his dad. I'd never meditated like that. I'd never meditated before in my life. And so we did that, and we went through the process where they tell you have a light going out of your head and back in through your feet and then around you. Long story short, we did that for 3 weeks, 20 minutes every day. And I walked back into the living room, and they were crying again. And I said, "What's up?" And he said, "My dad went into remission." "Thank you, bro." And I felt this feeling like as if we had something to do with that, because I'd never prayed or felt like that in my life. I grew up Catholic, and I was baptized, did my first communion and confirmation. I went to retreats. I was an altar boy for 8 years, but I got away from the church because I saw some things that I didn't like, corruption, and I just thought that it should, what did they do before church? A man didn't have a connection with God. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I figured if I just did what I did my whole life, which was treat my fellow man and women the way I like to be treated, it could, the world would be a better place if we all did that, And so I just continued to do that. And then I heard some things because we were meditating about like ascending at that time. So I had only heard like one video of it, and I felt like that's what I was doing, So
Yeah.
as we did this meditation, and he told me my dad went into remission. I remember walking out of the living room into the kitchen and thinking, God is great. And I said, but you know what? I have to move. I had to move from where I was at, right? But I didn't know what I was going to do. And I hadn't really thought about it.
Why did you have to move?
I just felt that I had to move because truth is, I lived with my ex-wife, her boyfriend, and their child, and the boy was 3 years old at the time.
Wow.
And I'd lived with them since before he was born. But I just felt like I was in the way. And like I said, I'm divulging some information. I hope they're all right with all of this, but
yeah.
So
well,
be it.
I will say, Adriel, you just spilled a lot of stuff right there, my friend.
I know.
One thing that you and Michael have in common, it seems like you have, you both saw a UFO on the 4th of July. And if you're looking at the live stream right now, this is great because Jeff Knox sent this to me yesterday.
There's a correction there, Lou.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw mine on July 1st.
July 1st.
Because I'm in Canada.
Got it. Okay, that fair enough. But
dude, this is about to get really weird, and the reason I divulge this information because I really don't have anything to hide, be ashamed of.
Yeah,
I don't have anything that will
I don't
gain
think you
out of
have.
this. Like I'm not.
No, no, no. I don't think you have anything to hide or be ashamed of, or you have anything or that you're trying to gain from telling this story. The only issue I have, though, is that I think this venue might be the wrong place to share it. It's not that I don't believe you, but you know, the thing that I'm sharing here with my audience is a graph from the United States Cumulative Daily Reported UFO Sightings from January 1995 to December 2018. And on July 4th, the UFO sightings literally triple across the board. That's like real hard data.
Yeah.
As far as your father coming out of remission, that's amazing. That's always a positive, wonderful story. But I don't know, causation doesn't mean, doesn't always,
I know all of that, Lou.
correlate,
I know all of that. I'm
Right.
just going to put this out there. Maybe I could speak to you after the show or something. But I went to the garage and I asked God for guidance. And I know that this isn't the venue for that.
Yeah.
But I said it out loud the way I'm going to tell you because it's important, man. And I've been trying to get a hold of you for a long time. And I am of sound mind. And it's just what happened to me. And so I released that little information before. Give me 1 minute. And if you want me to get off, I'll get off and we'll talk later. But I would really like to speak to you about this. And
Yeah,
I
well,
believe
I
it
think-
pertains to the UFOs and consciousness. And I'll let you know why. But something came in right after I said, hey, God, this is Adriel. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need to get out of here. I sure could use some guidance. And all of a sudden, this vibration came over me. And it felt like a ghost went in and out of my body from my head to my toes and back up. And
Yeah.
I didn't say, I thought, God, and something squeezed my heart 5 times. Now, 5.5 years later, because of what I said, I ascend, like I told you, I ascend. And the words that I was telling somebody, I was sharing in the park, and somebody said, what religion are you? And I said, I grew up Catholic. I told them that hospital, and I said, why isn't God helping me? I'm going a month and a half now asking for guidance with this weird thing that happened. And I'm not getting any answers. I know this is babbling a little bit, but I got like 15 seconds. So I said, no, I call it ascending. I treat my fellow man the way I like to be treated, taking my daily whatever's thrown at me the best way possible, so that when I get to heaven, God just says, Adriel, you're a badass. Come on in and make your heaven. But those words, our words have meaning. And something took over. And for 5 minutes, and I can prove this. I can prove this, Lou, because the only audible that I hear is a laugh, because it sees my thoughts. It can manipulate space-time. It has been with me every waking moment for the last 5.5 years. And so I make it laugh. I make it cry. The emotions come through me. And like I said, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that it's God, but it's got to be something that can manipulate space-time. And I believe that I can prove it. If they hook, and I'd be willing to anybody out there listening, I'd be willing to test this. I don't even know what the machine is called, but when they hook up the electrodes to your brain and they can see where you're firing off, right? If I made a joke and I made this thing laugh and you can hear the audible and I can tell you the joke after and I'd make the joke in my head, or I don't know how that would work,
well,
but there's going to be
here's what I would do, Adriel. I would maybe try having this discussion in one of our spaces that we have with a clinical psychologist that goes by the name of Andres, and he might be able to help you a little bit with and pinpoint what that voice, that laughing that you hear. I am curious because you think it's God, right? Or at least that's what
no,
you.
I don't think it's God, man. I think that something, because look at where we're at now. And so if you go ahead 100 years, the technology.
Well, I don't want to look. Let's keep it more local than that. Let's focus on you. Let's focus on you for a second. Earlier, before you said that you were living with, at one point you were living with your ex-wife and her boyfriend and your son.
No, not my son.
Okay,
their son.
Okay, so that had to have been pretty stressful and difficult to go through. Since
but that doesn't have anything to do with what.
What I was going to ask you was, since that time, in that time has this voice helped you improve the situation around you?
No, because of what I was saying and what I say, I ascend.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just a big joke with it, but it is the phenomenon, and it's been happening with me for the last 5.5 years. And it's not a voice that I hear. It's only a laugh. I only hear a laugh,
Right.
and it's only when I make a joke, and make
Right.
it laugh. But it also cries. Those emotions go through me, and I know that sounds weird, but
Yeah.
this is
No,
happening with me. And
it doesn't
I was
sound
going to
weird.
say that if the technology that Elon Musk has right now, let's go forward 20 years and what we will have. And I just think I have a visual of like this entity, this alien or interdimensional being with the remote control, because it controls my body. So you think about these plays and the thing they call being in the flow. How does that football player catch the ball behind his head up against his helmet, not even looking back? And oh, I ran the route and I put my hand up.
I'll tell you.
No,
Okay. All
3-point
right.
shot, no look. And what I'm saying is, when they finish these miraculous shots, they point up to the sky, right? And they give all the glory to God. But I don't think that that's what's happening. I think that consciousness or this entity or entities, I can't even say entities, and I don't want to say God, but that's probably what they called it from back in the day until now. I mean, Socrates, all of the philosophers, all of the athletes,
Well, I guess. Well, let me.
musicians,
So,
dude, when they go into the zone, right?
okay.
When they go into the
Yeah.
flow, they call it, and something takes over, and
Okay.
they don't even have control over it. And by the time they know it,
So,
it's done.
Adriel,
And they're like, yes, go ahead.
it sounds like it's a positive entity of some kind. Can you? Is that
It's
that
more
fair to
like
say?
I can't say that because it hasn't been a
Right. Well, I
positive
mean,
experience. It
well,
is what
but you're describing things of people being in the zone, right? Like usually when you're in the zone, that's usually not a negative experience, right? Usually.
Oh, no. Yeah, for that it is, but I think that it'll give you what you ask for, and so I turned that whole ascending and when I said taking my daily whatever's thrown at me the best way possible, I was thinking, where the F is God that I'm not catching a break? How come I'm not getting my guidance? I just went through something spiritual, and yet I'm asking, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? The synchronicities were off the hook. My phone leads me to these podcasts that and stuff just started happening. Like,
here's what I'm gonna recommend, Adriel, because I can't take the whole show with this because it sounds like you've got a long story here, and I don't want to seem rude, but I also don't want to alienate my audience. What I recommend, here's what I'm recommending for you to do. A couple of things. The first, like I said, I of course, a community of people that sort of have the same experiences is always a fun thing to sort of find maybe some support and some ideas on what your experience possibly, right? So I would recommend checking out one of our spaces. Any other space out there, I would be, I'd just be careful. Just be careful because a lot of the times people are going to tell you what you want to hear. People are going to agree with that laugh in your head that is a real manifestation. That is a real entity of some kind, right? I don't want to tell you what you want to hear. That's not what I'm here for. But at least in our spaces, you'll have the room to talk about this, but we're going to challenge the hell out of you. Like, we're going to challenge it, especially when you say you have things like proof or evidence. But the thing that I will really strongly recommend you doing is checking out. Go back once we're done here, check out my description of my video. In there, you will find a couple of links that will definitely help you in understanding what you're experiencing. Because I will tell you right now, you're not the first person, okay? You're not the only person. So when I say that I believe you, I do, right?
Thank you.
And I don't think you're crazy. It sounds like you have a sound mind, right? But there are two places I recommend for you if you seriously want to look at this from a neutral perspective, which is, I think, the best thing to do in your case. We've got a link to the International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation, which could link you with a professional who can talk to you and give you the actual time and patience that you need to work through these concepts and ideas. We're not going to do it here on a podcast or even a space for that matter. This could take you years to genuinely understand, right? The second thing I would recommend is checking out a link of books explaining alien abductions, experiences, and also the study of trauma, dissociation, memory, loss, also memory, like the changing of memories, things like hearing voices, things like that, hearing laughs, hearing, what kind of specific things that you are going through. There are medical explanations for all of those things if you're open to exploring those things. I've got links to all of those things in the description of my video, and I highly recommend you check them out. But that's all I can do for you here, if that's okay.
Yeah, can I comment real quick on?
Definitely.
I appreciate what you do and the pushback that you have. I just know that what I'm experiencing is real. This thing can manipulate space-time. I got led to this program that these guys were working with these dowsing rods, which I saw my dad use to find water on the ranch when I was growing up, so I didn't think evil or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw a pendulum. I saw a pendulum used by somebody that was not evil either. My phone led me to this old guy from the UK that was using a pendulum to talk to source. And it was answering questions, scientific questions that weren't being answered until the following week online in the paper, mainly online. And it could have been manipulated, but I don't think it was, because I looked it up and these people are still around. And now it went from talking to the planets. I know this is going to make me sound crazy, but it's not. I'll show it later. To ask the pendulum and the rods, and people could talk to source. Look it up. It's Patrick Garrett. Ask the pendulum and the rods mini reading, and I'm on that one. And
yeah.
so,
well, it seems like it seems like you've done some decent reading on the aspects that you want to hear. Again, like I recommend, go checking out the books, come to our discussions, and then maybe, again, we could explore some of these ideas further, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for your time, Lou.
Yeah, no,
and I live in LA. I live in LA, man. And
I saw you walking around. I saw the palm trees.
Yeah. It's beautiful out.
Yeah.
But I'll be in touch.
All right, right on. All right, well, I appreciate it, Adriel. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, 1 minute.
Yep.
When they looked up the 4th of July, 2014, they didn't find anything else?
What do you mean?
The UFO that I saw.
Oh, what do you mean when they looked up the July 14th?
It just seemed weird that back then when I looked it up, I found several, and now the last time I looked, I can't really find any. But when you zoom in the one that I have, it's like the red orb that changes, it morphs, right? And it's blinking and it's flashing a few different lights, red and yellow.
If you've got a copy of it or a link to it, tag me on Twitter and I'll take a look at it.
Cool. Thank you very much, Luke.
Yeah, man. No sweat. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Ciao. All right, you guys, that was Adriel. I know. Right? But we have to, sometimes we have to give the runway to folks with big planes. I don't want to, I'm trying not to give a response that sends somebody deeper down a hole. Now that we have options for people to go look at, to seek help, and to also read up on information that might give them some understanding on the things that they're experiencing. So, yes, I understand your frustrations. Michael's still here. I'm curious, Michael, did that cross any lines for you? Is there any part of that where you were having frustrations or anything like that?
Talking about some personal stuff that's that's personal stuff, like. And I think you gave him some really good advice, Lou. I'm impressed. I mean, you directed him in a way that hopefully will be helpful for himself.
Well, I'm curious, Michael. Have you taken a look? Were you aware of the links that we have to?
I didn't look. I didn't look at your description in the video, but I can go there now.
Yeah.
Take a quick
Well,
look.
yeah. Take a look again. Like if you guys are new to this show, and you guys are unfamiliar with what we do here, again, we're trying to provide a rational mind in the area of a very irrational thing in a lot of cases, especially when it comes when people describing what they see or what they experience. But yeah, again, this book list has been curated by a clinical psychologist who works with a lot of rehabilitating prisoners in a prison system. He understands very well. He's very well read on the UFO phenomenon in a lot of cases, including Bud Hopkins and gosh, why am I forgetting his name from Harvard? Not Avi Loeb, but the other gentleman who covered abduction cases. Anyway, yeah, he's very well read on all of this, and he also comes from an aspect of being a former, very deeply religious person. In a way where he understands the mindset of having a belief system and then applying, whether subconsciously or consciously, applying those belief systems to the things that you see and experience yourself. And it's very difficult, and it was very difficult for me to separate my experience and the discussion I was trying to have. It's very, very, very difficult to separate those things. So yeah, I always recommend for people to check it out. Go ahead.
That's why you have script writers for television and radio.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One
thing I wanted to mention about the sightings that I had, especially the first three.
Yeah.
And it was because it was in the mountains and they're going in and out of the trees. The thing that really bothered me was I was wondering, what are they doing? What in the world? Are they collecting something? And if they were, what were they collecting? That was the big questions I had for myself on those sightings. Just something I wanted to mention.
When you mean the orbs, like why are they so low?
Well, no, I don't think they were orbs.
Okay.
They were like craft that had lights that would blind you, so you can't actually see the shape of the craft because the lights that they have on their craft is just blinding. And
this is the craft you saw? You're describing?
These were the first three sightings that I saw.
Gotcha.
They were bobbing in and out of the trees, and I actually had a friend of mine come out and say, "Hey, come take a look at this." And we watched this one night. We watched them for like over an hour, and they just wouldn't go away. They were just so eventually we got tired of watching them and went back to bed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
By the way, it was John Mack. That's who I met. Who the name is slipped my mind. And by the way, Andreas, I see you here. If you'd like to come and chat with us for a little bit, that would be awesome. I'd always love to get your perspective in on these things. But yeah, so I guess how hard-lined are you, Michael? Do you think that there is any explanation outside of well, I mean, you didn't say it was alien, right? But you definitely said it wasn't American, it wasn't Chinese, it wasn't Russian. Is there anything that could convince you that what you saw was man-made or some sort of...
Not in a million years, Luke.
Okay, why?
Because of how fast these things took off.
Right.
Like the only thing that it left behind was a streak of light.
And what year again was this?
An arrow. What's that?
What year again was that?
That would have been, and that's hard to pinpoint. About 2016.
2016.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not.
And
I
the last
mean,
one I saw was in 2022. So, you know,
yeah. Well, I mean, have you ever seen? And you're gonna hate me for saying this, but have you ever seen a drone racing league?
a what?
A drone racing league
Oh, no.
where they
No,
have those highly maneuverable, incredibly fast drones that
yeah, but
travel upwards of.
how long can is their flight? You know,
Depends on who's making the hardware and who's supplying the software to run it.
yeah. So if it's for civilian,
You know,
their flight time is like 20 minutes. If
right? But
it's
you only saw it for a
military,
few seconds, right?
if it's military, their flight time is, I don't know how many hours,
Days.
days. I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't tell you. You look that stuff up, and they'll it's a lot of times it just says classified.
Well, the reason why I bring it up, right, is because I mean you've heard of Paul Benowitz, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1990, Benowitz. It seems like part of the things that he was filming, and a lot of these things were drone swarms. In 1990.
In 1990.
Right. You know, so
We didn't even have.
you know the year.
Computers back then.
You know the year that drone swarm technology became commercially available?
Probably not till
2013. 2013. So you're talking about a 23-year head start. And I think also he was filming them. So that means that they were already done and made and working prototypes.
Well, I don't know if it's a known fact or not, but the military, through a friend of mine, I realized that he was saying they had cell phones 10 years ago. When they came out with the cell phone, right, like a handheld one, or that brick one, the military already had that equipment 10 years previously.
Right.
But the technology came out. It
Right.
wasn't like it was hidden forever.
Well, it also
But
depends
as far
on.
as drones are concerned, when when people talk about orbs, I wonder, well, how big was that orb that they saw? Was it a drone or was it an orb? But when you see a UFO, like a craft that's bigger than your regular car,
Yeah.
that's a different story.
Sure. But that's not what you saw, right?
No.
Right. So my point, the reason why, again, I'm just trying to make the point of how can you say, could you possibly foresee what technology would look in the sky 25 years from now? What a drone might look like in the sky 25 years from now?
Like any one of our regular airplanes.
It might, or it might look like something that could do right angle turns and disappear over the horizon in moments.
Like a helicopter, but it's funny. Helicopters have it's like they have a speed limit as opposed
Right.
to
But that's a helicopter, right?
Because as
that,
opposed to a jet fighter, it can do anywhere between Mach 2 and Mach 6, you know.
right. Yeah, but the second you take a human out of it, then now you can go even faster,
Possibly, yeah.
right? Because you don't have
But
to.
they would build them smaller, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's why I bring up the drone racing league. These things are the size of a water bottle, but yet they move 200 miles an hour in an instant. Like it's instant speed.
Do you remember the movie The Tuscans?
No, I don't think I've seen that flick.
That was the air pilots, the black air pilots for the United States.
Oh, okay, yes.
And you remember that? And
Yep.
there was a trick that one of the pilots learned, and like you're flying the good old P-51, and So you're going and you're building up speed, and then you point your nose to the sky, and then the plane flaps to try and catch the wind as much as it can, and it's almost like it stops at a 90-degree angle, flies back a bit, then you lower the nose, and presumably the guy who's chasing you behind you darts out in front of you, and then you chase him and shoot him down. That was a aerial trick that was really something else. It was an incredible maneuver, and in the future, I think, like our jets, Phantoms, and now can do stuff like that very easily. Whereas back in World War II, it was a trick you had to learn how to do and get it right every time. But so I think the maneuverability of planes in the future are going to be pretty cool. Who knows, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, like right now I'm looking at a cone-shaped world record-setting drone that had a top speed of 247 miles per hour, and it was built by a guy in his garage. So multiply that drone times 4 or 5 or 8. What would it be? One, I guess a drone would be like, what, 1/4 scale, I guess. So yeah, times it by 4, and all of a sudden you've got a personal flying machine that could get from New York or from San Francisco to LA in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and it lands upright, you pop out, and you're good to go. We've got Andreas in the house. What's up, buddy? Thanks for being here.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well. Well, you're a little scratchy there. Maybe that was just your intro into the room, but let me see. Let's test your mic again.
All right. Is this better?
Yeah, it's a little better, I guess. It's not terrible. But yeah, we'll work through it.
Let me take off my Bluetooth headphones.
Oh, you know what? That's probably what it is. These, I tell you, yeah, I don't know. These Bluetooth headphones, man. Sometimes they work great. Sometimes they just don't. It depends on what you're doing. It's the application, really. Oh, HTID Tricky says, Lou, I fly FPV. Show him my channel. What's your channel? HTDID Tricky. What's your channel, Tricky? All right, hello?
All right. Is this better?
Ooh, man, actually, it got a little worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go get on my computer then.
All right, sorry, bud. Thanks. All right, we'll get Andres back. Curious to see. Let me see here. HT, my username. Okay, let's find your YouTube channel. Oh, I don't wanna lose that one. Let's go here. Let's open up a new window here. Sweet. Okay. Which one should I go with? What's your fastest one here, Tricky? Which one are we watching? Should we go with the latest one from 2 months ago? Let's go with this one, just because it's the latest. Wow, this is cool. Wow. Alright, I gotta lower the music because I don't know where you got that music from. It could get a hit on my channel. So just in case, I'll lower the music. But this is cool. This is cool. How fast does it go, Tricky? I'm curious. Now, obviously, right, if you made this thing 4 times bigger where it could fit humans in it, 5 times bigger, whatever the scale is, you probably wouldn't be doing maneuvers like this in it. But I imagine if this thing takes off like a rocket, like straight up like this, and then gains speed, you know, and then when it slows down, it comes and just lands just like a Tesla rocket, but it's 4 engines. It's four power trains that are maneuvering you through the sky. I think, shit, man, if this thing's doing 230 miles an hour, 240 miles an hour, I'm assuming you could get something with some bigger engines to go even faster. You know, again, like the idea of personal drone vehicles is coming, you guys. Like, this right here is coming. It's right around the corner. And I think there's, besides, you know, commercial and private industries developing stuff like this, I think the military's been playing with this stuff for a long time. So he goes, this one ain't super fast. I have a 6S drone that does about 100 miles per hour. That's wild. That's so cool. So, like, when you see stuff like this, Michael, does that move the bar at all for, you know, for you, as far as, you know, you're like ruling out the possibility completely, 100%, definitely not made by hands, but does like a discussion like this move the bar at all for you? Or a possibility of what you saw was possibly human, just way advanced and appears, you know, alien? If you're still there, Michael, I see you. Let's see, Andres is back. Andres, you there?
Yes, this is better.
Wow, you sound so good right now.
Dang, stop flirting with me, Lou.
Yeah, it immediately got me in the flirt mode. By the way, Tricky, this is your first time on national YouTube. This is Tricky, everybody, with a face mask on, flying his drone. That's hilarious. So Andres, have you been able to listen to any of the show?
Yep.
I was so happy that I was able to finally use the links for the book list and for I don't want to say National Trauma Center, but what is it? The International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation. So I'm so happy that we have those links in every single one of our descriptions. So if you guys ever want to recommend these links, they're always in every description of every video I have. Since I've talked to Andreas, we have these links there. So I thought that was a great tool.
Yeah, you did a really good job having that conversation with your earlier guest too.
I'm getting better. I feel like I'm getting better at it.
You are. I mean, I definitely think there's a difference between experiencers and how we treat them compared to, you know, the usual grifters.
Well,
you did a good job.
What is this dichotomy? And I'm sure you've noticed it, where you know, parts of this discussion that are very unbelievable on its surface are widely accepted, applauded, platformed, held up as truth. But the moment it goes into, oh yeah, I hear voices and I've got God talking to me and I think I know exactly what's happening. I know how this technology works. They start making claims that they know they've been chosen. And then you see this weird sort of energy shift from the believers going, okay, you got to stop, crazy person. You just sound like a fucking nutball. Like, what you're saying is absolutely crazy. But lizard people living underground, let's go back to talking about that, or Nazca mummies, or whatever the topic of the day is, that is also just as ridiculous to believe as the guy who's, and in some cases, I think we've established here through our discussions that they are having a real experience. They are actually having a real visceral experience, and it's being thrown out and sort of ridiculed from the people who call themselves this accepting, open arms, open mind kind of philosophy. Have you noticed that that difference? And what is that?
I'm not sure if I've seen that much ridicule of experiencers on
Well,
spacism.
I don't know. Okay, maybe not ridicule, but sort of you can feel everybody's eyes roll to the back of their skull when the person who comes up and starts talking about corn people, for example. You know what I mean? Like when he's very adamant and very sort of genuine in the way that he's talking about these things, right? And yet there is an immediate dismissal of it, and you can feel it. You can feel it even from the most ardent believer. So my question, like, what's happening there? Why is that belief okay, but corn people isn't? You got just as much evidence for both.
I think you asked a really good question to Larry the other day about this, because you asked him, why do you take, reports of aliens having sex with you on a bed seriously, but not the corn people stuff? And I think his answer was, well, the aliens having sex with you while you're sleeping part is attested to by many people throughout history and throughout society, whereas the corn people thing seems to be just one isolated dude. And in his mind, that gives it a lot more credibility, evidentially, than just one isolated person. But essentially, they're the same kind of claim, right? Just because you have
Yes.
multiple people saying the same odd thing doesn't make it any more believable than one lone person talking about corn people. And I think I was gonna chime in there, but my phone cut off. I was gonna ask Larry, well, by that token, do you believe in succubi and incubi throughout history, where people
Right.
report being woken up by demons, stealing their seed? Exactly the same thing that aliens are allegedly doing at nighttime,
Right.
and just literally raping you in your sleep.
Well, you had made a good point the other day about the chupacabra. Well, okay, so we have cattle mutilations. Therefore, you must believe in the chupacabra, right? Because that's the exact description of what the chupacabra does. It comes and steals farm animals and sucks all their blood out.
Yep. At least, I mean, I don't see why people would rule that out as a potential explanation for cattle mutilations. If they're going to entertain the alien hypothesis, why isn't it equally strong evidence for the chupacabra?
Right.
In fact, I think it's better evidence for the chupacabra than aliens.
I agree. I agree. Like, and I don't believe in the chupacabra whatsoever. Like, but you're right. Like the lore and the description of it definitely fit a chupacabra way better than an alien. Like, it's so silly, but I love when you get into the details of, and it doesn't matter whether it's corn people or whether it's, having, sex with aliens and them stealing your babies, 9 months later. The second you start asking about details is the moment those stories start to fall apart. Like last night I asked corn people guy, okay, well, what's the economy like in cornland? Like, do I have to pay rent? What is the currency? Like simple things. Like, you're claiming that there is a whole race of people that are made out of corn that live in cornfields and forests. Okay, fine. Let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's ask some questions about this. And honestly, I swear to God, if I get this one movie made and I've got any sort of juice or Hollywood street cred when I'm done making it, I swear to you, my second project is going to be corn people.
Was it the guy whose name has the word I in it? I forget his full name on Twitter. Was it that guy?
Who was making the claims?
Yeah, about the corn people?
Oh, God, I can't remember his name. I think his real name is Neil. People were calling him Neil in the chat. But then we also come to find out, Neil has a warrant and I think tried to kill people in other states, is on the run from the law. It's like, geez, dude, and we entertained, and I didn't know that until last night. Like, now knowing that, I don't think I'll ever talk to him again. It's just kind of, now I really don't. Like, if it was just a guy living in a van down by the river, which is what I thought he was, and that's pretty much what he is. But then you add on top of that possible attempted murder. That's when I'm like, okay, I can't talk to the guy in the van down by the river. As much as I love corn people, I've got to draw the line at attempted murder.
At least not piss him off. I think he
Right.
also has some strange beliefs about there being a planet behind the sun that you could see, and like purple dust, blue dust, space dust.
I
fairies
honestly,
as well.
to me, he is the most entertaining aspect I've ever heard on Twitter, simply because the claims are so crazy that nobody, and I mean nobody, believes them. And I think that's the most fun kind of story, is the one where I don't have to worry, okay, this is going to make a cult, you know, like this one is, there's no cult is being formed out of his tales. But they're still fun, and there's still like an innocence in listening to them. Whereas with some of these other spaces, you get into them and there's just this sort of matter of fact tone. You know, you don't believe this, you're not welcome kind of feel. And I mean, honestly, primarily, I've been kind of avoiding them lately. It's been a good thing.
Yeah, and I wonder, I think there's some Native American mythology about the Corn Mother. I wonder if some of what he's talking about has something to do with that mythology. But it is, again, a prime example of if it's one person making these claims, it's almost kind of laughed away. But
Right.
as soon as you get another person making similar claims, then suddenly it's taken more seriously. And it's a problem regardless of how many people claim it, because it's not how many people are making the claim, it's how good the evidence for the claim is.
Well, the first time I heard Neil, I was golfing, and it was in one of those 78-hour spaces that Logan holds. And so I didn't chime in, but there were actually people who were like, yep, you're right. He's right about the corn people. And I mean, it was, dude, I'm just like laughing. Like I play this sometimes because I'm an Uber driver every once in a while. And I'll listen to spaces while I'm driving Uber, and I just get a kick out of talking to the passenger, because I'll sometimes just lie to them because I don't want to explain why I'm listening to this. Is so much more effort than what it's worth. So I'll just tell people straight up, oh yeah, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book about Twitter spaces and subcultures, and so that's why I'm kind of studying what these people talk about. But it's a lot of fun. They're crazy as shit. Just listen to it, you know. And then 5 minutes in, they'll say something absolutely batshit crazy, and I'll look back and they'll be like, "What the fuck?" And they love it. It's like entertainment radio for them. Once you know that you're listening to essentially crazy people, it becomes it's just you can listen to it with a different kind of ear. And I know that's a terrible label to put. I'm gonna get a bunch of shit from a whole bunch of people that have had experiences. Oh, you call us crazy. I'm sorry, when you guys get in a group and you talk about this for 76 hours straight, that is the very definition of crazy.
I think the longest space he's done is 110 hours. But yeah, I would love to get on an Uber and have my Uber driver just listening to one of those spaces without any context whatsoever.
Dude, this one lady was laughing so hard because, yeah, we got, you know, there are those moments where you get the guy who comes in there and starts talking about corn people. And you know, it's like, it's so entertaining. It's so funny. And then there's also a level of it where, like, this is fucking sad. like especially when, you know, it's just like the details that we just got less than an hour ago. I was living with my ex-wife and her new husband and their child. Like, how awful of a living situation is that? Where you don't have the independence to just get the hell out of there. And it's like stories like that, when I hear them, and when you hear the corn people guy and he slips in that, you know, he lives in a van. Like, he lives in a van. Okay, well, let me think about all the people that I've seen who live in a van, and there's a lot of those in Los Angeles. And I can tell you, I don't think I've seen one that doesn't reek of meth. You know, and it's like, it's like, shit, dude, like, I'm sorry. So that's, if you don't want those labels put on you, then start having a better conversation with better people, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to easily label those things. But it's like,
I gotta tell you, Lou, if
yeah.
I ever go to LA, I'm gonna invite a bunch of corn people over to the hot tub.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I want to do a hot tub session with corn people.
Yeah, like
I
once
mean, by
they
the
cook
by the
all, once they eat 'em.
by the end of it, they're going to be delicious. Not only are they going to
Yeah.
have great stories, but we'll be able to consume them.
Yeah.
That just listening to
It
that
could be a
is,
little gross. Honestly, wait, I'm sorry to cut you off, but now that I'm thinking of it, all like 4 dudes in a hot tub hanging out with 4 corn guys. I don't know. That might that corn might be a little rank, but fuck it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it.
oh my god.
I do think he got
So
that guy.
that's like Sasquatch.
What's like
I mean-
Sasquatch? Corn people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
I agree.
And there's a good comparison. It's like, hey Lou, do you believe in bears?
Yes.
And why do you believe in bears?
I've seen a bear.
Yeah, you seen a bear. Not only that, they have them in zoos.
Right.
They have.
Well,
them-
we've dissected one.
There you go.
We've eaten them for God's sake. People eat bear.
Do you believe in deer? Yeah.
Yeah.
They live in the forest. Do you believe in wolves? Yeah, they live in the forest. Coyotes? Yep, they live in the forest. Sasquatch? People say they've seen them, but they have no proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
We haven't dissected a Sasquatch, right? We haven't eaten a Sasquatch. We haven't found the bones of a Sasquatch.
It's like the day I found out Santa Claus wasn't real, I realized, what about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and all these other myths?
Well, so then let me ask you, because Michael, I'm just happy that you're here and you haven't hung up and just walked away. But so, again,
I don't agree with a lot of what you say, but
Yeah.
you know what? So what?
great. No, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. So, but I do love to explore sort of these little holes, right? Like Bigfoot, ridiculous. Santa Claus, ridiculous. Tooth Fairy, ridiculous. Aliens visiting planet Earth. Yep, I'm in.
Well, aliens visiting planet Earth. It's funny you say that because the only book that I actually went out, bought, and read
Yeah.
was Chariots of the Gods. Well, I'm sorry, I may have read Crash Go the Chariots as well,
Okay.
but those are the only UFO books I ever really read. But I've read the articles, I watched the YouTube stuff, I listened to the spaces. So there's a lot of collaborating testimony that gets people to believe that abductions are real, sightings are real, these craft are real. Whether they're aliens or not, people have said that they've seen aliens. There's enough collaborating reports of that, but stuff like Bigfoot and going to another planet and fighting a war or something like that I think is a little off the top. And if we're going to have disclosure, we need to stop talking about this fantasy stuff and get into what we know has some factual basis behind it. And one of the biggest facts is that the military haven't been able to balance their books for over 50 years. And they've accumulated up to $23 trillion that they can't account for. I think that's a major factor and in what they're spending money on that could be, not accounted for in the books. And what are they doing with that money? Where did it go?
Yeah.
Where's the money? Where's the body?
Those are great questions. Those are things I totally see. I line up with you on. I was wondering though, what is your favorite UFO case with the best evidence?
That's a good question, because there's a few of them. I think we should pick one that we've had witnesses come forward on, and I think Roswell is probably uh, Roswell is one that we can work on. But certainly the Phoenix Lights. I mean, thousands of people saw this craft floating over Phoenix. Thousands. How do you debunk thousands of witnesses? How do you can't debunk that?
I don't know if you could debunk it, right? Because I don't think I would try to debunk it, because I believe that there were thousands of people that saw something in the sky. I just don't know if they interpreted it correctly.
Well, one guy mentioned he said that thing was at least a mile long, and you could have landed all of our B-52s on the thing. So, that's quite a statement. And recently with Tim Galloway and the other gentleman, I forget his name, basically stating, is there any way this could be fake? And he said, no way. These things are definitely real. What we need is disclosure. We need to get this topic settled one way or the other.
What is disclosure in your opinion?
The government coming out with what they know, acknowledging that there was a Roswell and they covered it up, because we know they did.
Right. Well, they've acknowledged that, though, right? That they covered that up, right?
Have they?
Yeah. Yeah. There was the Project Mogul, and they covered it up with a weather balloon story.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. They did cover it up.
And the other interesting thing about this whole UFO thing is the narrative hasn't changed in 80 years.
Well, the progress hasn't changed either.
Yeah.
Right. Don't you think that's a big red flag?
The progress on it?
Yeah.
Well, I think the government has been very successful. Or I shouldn't say the government, but whoever wants to cover this up is doing a great job at it.
Right. But the government can't control other governments. The government can't control other scientists.
And there are some governments who have come out in the open about it.
Well, okay, so like, I this is where you and I think are going to differ tremendously. I find it incredibly frustrating when people say things like that, because it's kind of spits on the face of 80 years of people doing science, and even armchair astrologers. You can't control every scientist and every person who's curious on the face of the planet. If there was a genuine phenomenon going on, why are we getting better and clearer pictures in the 1950s than we are in the 2020s? Why are no other governments, or no other countries for that matter, have as many UFO sightings as our country, yet our country dwarfs the size of most of our allies and our enemies? Like Russia, if the United States has, and we'll just go by the number Bob Lazar has thrown out there, 12 spacecraft, let's just round it up and say 20 back engineered, reverse engineered spaceships. That means that the Russian Empire should have found at least 60. At least. If we're going by the landmass, yeah. And when I say Russian Empire, I mean, through World War I till present day.
Yeah. So we have different governments.
Correct. Yeah. So like China, why wouldn't China come out? So those are the things that where I also used to use these arguments in that, with the pilot testimonies and the overwhelming eyewitness testimonies and firsthand accounts that we have. Those are all wonderful data points, and they all point to something happening. But unfortunately, the last, 80 years of those data points have produced nothing. And it goes back to that clip that we played earlier at the top of the show that Pip had put here for us. You know, this idea that, especially in these spaces, you know, nobody's an astronomer, nobody's a biologist, nobody's a veterinarian, nobody does any sort of science in the field that they claim to know so much about. And, you know, it's frustrating.
Those kind of people are coming out.
Like who?
I mean, Tim Gallagher, oceanographer.
Okay, so let's dissect Tim Gallaudet for a moment. What about Tim Gallaudet do you think that he's changing or progressing this discussion?
I think he certainly is progressing it.
In what way?
In that his testimony and what he is saying collaborates with what other people have been saying, for one. Number two, because he's an expert.
Let's before we go to number two, what is it that he is saying that corroborates anything? What was his experience? You realize, right, that Tim Gallaudet has not had a UFO experience himself, right?
Well, here's the thing: is that if he's under a non-disclosure agreement, there are things he can't say. He's not allowed to say because those people want to do it. Those people want to do it through legal means. They don't.
No. What I'm telling you is that Tim Gallaudet has admitted himself that he has never seen a USO. He's never seen any programs connected to USOs. He's never had access to any of the programs that would have been connected to that kind of technology. The reason why Tim Gallaudet came out was because he saw the gimbal and go fast video on a server net that was internal within the military, and that's what convinced him that it was real. And then you fast forward to today, and we know that the go fast video is actually going slow. It's only going 40 miles per hour. So that when you say things like that, I throw my hands up in the air. I go, with all due respect, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because he hasn't seen anything. He wasn't part of any of the programs. He is just taking his personal belief, something that he saw on a server, and put two and two together, and it's now coming to a conclusion and doing TV shows and podcasts pushing this narrative. But he hasn't provided Congress with any evidence. He hasn't provided Arrow with any evidence. He himself has said he doesn't have any evidence. So in what way, other than telling me a trust me bro story, is he progressing this discussion?
By his status.
That's it. His status.
And he has access to any.
No, but he doesn't. No, he didn't. He did not have access to those things.
They erased his emails.
No, I have not heard him say anything about
that claim.
Yeah, he's never made that claim that they've erased his emails. I think you're confusing that with something that Lou Elizondo said. Again, I would go back and I would re-listen to Tim Gallaudet's very first interview, and he'll tell you in that interview, I've got clips of it. We could play it for the audience if I really must. But he did not have access to those things. He was a meteorologist for the Navy. That's what he was. That was his job.
Thought he was an oceanographer.
He's a meteorologist. Oceanographer, meteorologist. He was giving weather reports. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, that's why I'm asking you, what's the best meat you got on a bone for me to chew on? Because I want this to be real just as badly as you do. But understand, if you think my questions are tough or the things that I'm spitting back are difficult, just wait till real scientists or real investigative journalists get a hold of these things. Because I think when And they have, when they do get a hold of these things, they find a lot of bullshit. Michael, they find a lot of bullshit. There's more smoke than fire, and I think it's a fog machine. It's not even real smoke. It's just
Well, here's the thing, Lou, as I know,
yeah.
I know for a fact, I saw what I saw.
Right.
So I believe that a lot of you're going to tend to believe what a lot of people say. There's
Right.
a lot of stuff I don't believe,
Mhm.
but I think for one thing for sure is that UFOs are here.
Mm.
What are they doing here, and who are they?
Yeah.
You know,
I will say
the only thing we're missing is confirmation from the government.
yeah.
Whether
Well,
you're in Canada, the States, or Australia,
yeah.
England.
But I think, I mean, this is a really good illustration of the problem with ufology. You yourself just said that what he's bringing to the table is his reputation, his standing, his military rank. He himself has said he's never had any experiences with anything. He hasn't seen anything. He is someone who became convinced of ufology using exactly the same sources that anyone on the internet becomes convinced. He saw the 2017 videos. He went down the rabbit hole and he became a believer, if he wasn't already. And now, in virtue of his status tends to be used to reinforce the claims that of the 2017 article. It's a self-reinforcing circle where someone of high rank reads the claims, becomes convinced of them, starts repeating them, and because they're now repeating them, it is now somehow more credible than it was before. He doesn't have anything. He just reads the same stuff that ufologists read.
Any thoughts, Michael?
No, I was just wondering why you mentioned Russia and China must have more down craft than the States, and how do we know? Like maybe they do.
Yeah.
I mean, the China during the 30s. Well, China was in a revolution, and Russia were in a revolution, and both countries that were nationalist were fighting the communists. So when the states helped evacuate the nationalists to Taiwan, who knows? Maybe they said, "Oh, well, we'll hide the UFOs and we'll just take those from you, or you store them on Taiwan somewhere." Who knows? But it's probably the chance of China having at least 3 or 4 craft probably pretty good if the states has 12. So I don't know, and same with Russia. We don't know because they are not talking.
Well, they do talk, and when they talk, they typically say, "We don't know anything about this stuff." It's just that you guys don't like the answer.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's
Well,
very common to say that they're not talking. It's common to say that
I'm
they're not
just
talking.
speculating. I have no idea what China and Russia are doing. So.
Well, Jeff Knox, Lou had Jeff Knox. Was it Jeff Knox?
Yep.
The historian? Yeah, and I asked him about the USSR records. What happened to the USSR UFO records when it collapsed? And turns out, funny enough, Knapp has quite a few of them, but he refuses to release them for some reason.
Yeah, that's interesting. So
is it interesting or is it a red flag?
My question, Lou, is because you hold this community gathering, where do you stand on disclosure? What is it you want to see happen, or would like to see happen?
Ooh, man, I would like to see all of these talking heads go away. That's for sure. I would like to see evidence. I would like to see corroborating evidence. I would like to see a panel of scientists. I would like to see a piece of the craft. I would like to understand how it works. I would like an introduction to the beings if they exist. Or I would like them to just show themselves if they are here. What's with all the teasing? Let's get this party started, shall we? You're clearly superior to us, so this idea of interacting with us might start a war is, I think, moot. But yeah, I mean, I want evidence, and I'm trying. I would like to see the community set a higher bar for what evidence is, because it seems like the community loves to settle for, trust me, bro, this is real. And
You want to move beyond trust me, bro.
Way beyond trust me, bro. And just because I'm an American oceanographer and retired rear admiral in the United States Navy doesn't mean what I'm saying is fact. I don't care if the president of the United States came out tomorrow and said that, yeah, we've got them, they're real, but didn't show any of us, I would be very dubious of that claim. Like, we need evidence. We need hard data. We need I would like to see a fucking college course taught on this topic if it was real, but it's not. it's not. And I think there's so many, like the James Webb Telescope. What about all the scientists and all of the brilliant minds that went into building that? Like, you think they're just they don't get it? Like, they overlooked the data that we looked at? Like, I don't believe that. I can't buy that for a second. That curiosity wouldn't look in every corner before it decides to build, a $1 trillion camera to look out into the cosmos to get answers as to who the hell we are. It's so insulting, man. And I wish she would see it that way a little more. But I don't know. Go for it, Andres. Yeah.
About Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So
thanks for the super chat, by the way, Wise Monkey. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem. Michael mentioned that it's the number of eyewitness reports that seems to give the UFO topic credibility. So the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, it's one of the most comprehensive databases for Bigfoot sightings. In North America alone has documented around 5,000 sightings. So this is, if you want to kind of claim that the number of sightings gives credence to a belief, then 5,000 is quite a big number, and that's just in North America alone. Canada has quite a few as well. Why do you take those less seriously than the UFO sightings?
You asking me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, why do I think? Well, I've never heard that they had 5,000 sightings. And how do you know that they didn't see a bear? Take a picture.
That's a very good question.
Great point. That's a great point.
Very good question.
It's a great point. You make a great point. But the question for you is very simple. Like, there are thousands and thousands of reports of Bigfoot. So much so that they've made movies, they've made documentaries, they've written books, there've been TV shows. It is a whole subculture within itself. There's television shows that are dedicated to chasing the thing. Why is that a line that is being crossed? And your logic there is beautiful. Well, what if they saw a bear? What if you saw a drone?
Yeah, in fact,
what if you saw a satellite? What if you saw an experimental aircraft?
We have pictures of UFOs. We have radar data. We have sonar data.
Yeah, but Michael, you could agree the pictures that we have of UFOs are always blurry and really shitty. There's never any corroborating photos. So, for example, if it's a major sighting, say like the Phoenix Lights, and the Phoenix Light, I will give a pass only because it was the 90s and not everybody had a camera in their pocket. But thousands of people sitting at their homes, like nobody had a camera. Like, we only got 1 or 2 videos of this thing and a few snapshots.
Well, I got 3. I managed to capture my sightings on video 3 times.
Yeah.
One was 11 seconds long. One was 19 seconds long. Another one was like 12 seconds long. And I didn't film it like forever, because there's nothing more to see other than it's changing color.
Right. Well, how do you know it's not a drone?
One of the best ones I had, I went and deleted accidentally.
Ouch.
But I did post it on Facebook. But I can't download it from Facebook, even though I uploaded it.
So
Well, send
best
me the link.
explanation-
Send me the link, Michael. I might be able to download that for you. Sorry, Andres.
On Facebook?
Yep. I might. I don't know. I might be. Just send me the link, and I might be able to get that video for you. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I might not be able to, but you know, if I can download it, I'll
posted
email
it
you a
quite
copy of it.
It'll be a day or two before I get it to you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Yeah. Sorry, Andres, you were saying?
Yeah, the best explanation for Bigfoot sightings is actually brown bears. There was a recent study that overlaid Bigfoot sightings with normal brown bear populations in the United States, and they are a perfect match. Typically, the best explanation is misidentifying brown bears, and typically it's because when they're walking on 2 feet, it is a very strange thing to see. We're used to seeing them walking on all fours. It's the same thing for UFO sightings. It's the likeliest explanation is misidentification of perfectly mundane objects in the sky. That's why I don't think there's any credibility to Bigfoot any more than there is to UFOs, really, because the photos we have are always the same quality. The same thing for ghosts. It's always blurry, just barely out of focus.
Anders, name me an animal that lives in the sky. That lives in the sky.
Birds?
Not birds that fly through it. No,
Yeah,
not birds that fly through it, but something that lives in the sky. Lays down to rest.
Well, what does that have to do with? But what you're citing doesn't prove that they live in the sky, right?
No.
Are you open to the possibility? I'm just curious, Michael. Are you open to the possibility that what you have seen is something perfectly mundane and natural that you misidentified? Is that even possible in your mind?
Only on one of the sightings.
Only on one of them?
Yeah. Which one?
1 out of 7.
1 out of 7. So 6 are definitely. There's no way that you'd change your mind.
No. Not at all.
See, I think that's a bad place to be. I think if you're not open enough to being wrong on something that you don't know what it is, right? Like we could all agree, I think, right, that it's an unknown because we don't know. We don't know what you saw, right? All 7 of them, all 7, you have no clue what they were, correct? Is that correct? Yes? No?
That's a hard question to say yes or no to.
Would you be willing to post the videos on astronomy forum?
Wait a second. Out of the 7 objects that you saw, can you identify any of them as something that you know to be a thing?
Well,
can you label?
I know what it isn't.
Okay, so you don't know what it is. But you don't know what it is.
A craft from planet Earth.
Right.
That I know.
See, you don't know that though. You don't know that because have you held it?
That doesn't mean that they're not real.
Well, but it also doesn't mean that they're real, right? Like you can't say it was definitely non-human because you don't know. And so that's my point. Is like
as far as whether they're human or not, you're right. That I don't know. I didn't look inside the ship.
Right. So they're unknowns. My point is that there's 7 unknowns. You don't know what they are. Therefore, correct. They're unidentified flying objects, right? Unidentified. Underline that. So the issue that I have here is that because we can all agree they're unidentified, but you don't have the space or the room to say, well, maybe I was just wrong on my assumption of them being unidentified. You have no room to be wrong.
I have data on 3 of them.
But you have a video. You have a video of a thing flying in the sky.
Crappy cell phone, yeah.
Right. That's not data, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
It's not, right? Like as like just like my experience isn't data either, and that's not evidence either. It's just not. It's not. As frustrating as that is, I can't use my UFO experience as data or evidence. That's not fair.
Are you saying I should walk around with a bazooka with a guided missile that will shoot these things down, and if I shoot it down, then I've got my evidence?
I mean, I'd be very careful firing off a bazooka in a residential zone. But yeah, man, if you could shoot one down, I mean, I would be very careful. Again, you might start an international space conflict, but sure. You know, I mean, Lou Elizondo was making claims.
What is the general public supposed to do? Right now, the only thing that they really have to capture any kind of issue on this is their cell phone.
Yeah.
We're not walking around with telescopes. We're not walking around with radar systems and stuff like that. The military does that. That's their job.
I think you're right. Not everyone's going to be walking around with those things. But if you just take a quick look at TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, and you look at all of the amateur astronomers that are on there taking pictures of the moon, taking pictures of astral bodies and galaxies through their telescopes in the backyard, and the things that they're capturing, and these are night watchers, man. Not one of them, not one, has caught anything remotely mysterious or unexplainable.
It's because they don't know how.
I disagree. I think they look at the sky a lot more than you and I do. Is that fair?
Yeah, I used to have a telescope, and I was looking at the sky quite often.
Right, but you don't anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Got demolished.
I'm just saying, there's millions of people, there's billions of people on the earth, and if 1% of them are looking at the sky, that's a lot of eyeballs. That's a lot of eyeballs. And I think more than 1% of the population on the planet Earth look at the sky. And I think every time people do look at the sky, they want to see something amazing. I think there is a natural sort of pull to look at the sky.
The average person that has a telescope sets up in his backyard or wherever they're going to go view, right? They set up. And out of the 2, 3, 4, or 5 hours that they're out there, how much time are they actually looking through the scope? I can tell you that they're not looking through the scope 4 or 5 hours. They're looking through the scope probably for a total of maybe half an hour.
Sure.
I bet.
Yeah.
You know.
And the other time they're looking at this pictures, and I think the other time they're looking at the sky as a whole. You know, like that's their hobby, is to look at the sky. And I think if you had, there's so many ways for people to connect. But again, going back to just the sheer numbers of it, billions of people on the planet, 1% of them have telescopes, and 1% of them look at the sky on a nightly basis. I think there would be a massive group of astronomers, armchair and professional astronomers, in forums, going to universities and saying, hey, look, I didn't catch this on the telescope, but here's what I'm seeing when I'm observing the sky, because they're also making notes on things that they're looking at, you know. And I think we would have a lot of people busting down a door with degrees saying, hey, there's something a lot closer in this atmosphere than we thought, or we had first, theorized. And again, man, I just think it's insulting to science to say that I'm smart enough to discover this, but you guys aren't. You know what I mean? And that's like, again, and you've been here for 2 hours and you've been a good sport, and I don't mean to pick on you. I'm not trying to pick on you, but I want better evidence, Michael. I have to set the bar so much higher. So then that way, when we do start getting the questions, I have rock solid, fuck you, take it to the bank answers. Because right now, I don't have those kind of answers when people get to the core of these claims.
And that's why we're pushing for disclosure.
Sure, yeah, and let's push. Let's push, but let's not make claims while we're pushing. You know, and let's not, and at least for me, I can't tell you what to do, but I'm not going to use my experience as evidence that this is happening. And I'm not going to tout that as a reason to believe or to listen or to fight or advocate for this discussion. My experience has nothing to do with truth. If it's truth, if it's facts that we're going after, then let the facts. It doesn't need my story. It doesn't need the 20 people that were at the barbecue I was at. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need your 10-second video or your 7 sightings. The truth needs truth, you know. So All I'm asking is for people to join me and help set that bar higher, so that way we can have better discussions about this. Discussions like this, where it's like, I understand you're going to walk away still believing what you believe, and I'm going to walk away knowing what I know, like, and we'll hopefully, hopefully somewhere down this janky road, we'll be able to dance around a fire and chug some beers together, because something amazing has just happened. But if the sample size of 80 years,
if the aliens let us live, yes.
Yeah, well, but if the sample size of the last 80 years has shown me anything, is just, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, not because they're hiding it, but because it's simply just not there. And that, from a statistical perspective,
a lot of what I've heard on some of this stuff, if you rewatch, I've been rewatching the X-Files. And every time they talk about UFOs or aliens, whatever, it's the same narrative that people are talking about today.
Yep.
And the same narrative that they were talking about 60 years ago.
Well, you want to know what was one of my big aha moments was when I was editing a video for the anniversary of Stanton Friedman's passing, and I was looking through his archive and just looking for like my favorite clips. And I found a clip where every single thing that I was advocating for during the Big Phone Home and all of our grassroots efforts, it was literally line for line what Stan Friedman was saying back in the 60s. Line for line. And I said to myself, oh, fuck, man. If this guy can't get it done, like, what are the odds I'm going to get it done, And, it's just like a big, just like, oh shit, like, yeah, people have tried this before and it's failed miserably. And there are good reasons as to why it fails, other than the government not being honest with the people. I think that's just an easy cop out. That's an easy thing to throw over this whole discussion, because yeah, the American military is the most powerful entity on the planet, but even with that said, it doesn't control every aspect of humanity. It's impossible.
So do you believe the government is lying?
I believe, hell yeah, of course it is. But I also believe the government finds this discussion perfect for what exactly it's trying to accomplish, because it'd much rather have you, a guy like you, film something in the sky, see it 7 times, and convince himself, oh, those are definitely not man-made. I think that's exactly what they want you to say. That's exactly what they don't want you to think it's man-made, and that's exactly what they did to Paul Benowitz in 1990. They fucking got him to think that the things he was filming were alien. And
Arnold thought that too back in what, 1947?
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's the thing, man.
Had this technology for if they've had this technology for 80 years, they're holding on to it for what,
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, this has been a full 2 hours. I put this show out there. Usually we have a tough time getting people to call in, because people are either shy or they just don't want to talk to me, one or the other. I'll probably go with the latter. But man, we filled this whole 2-hour show with I think was fun discussion. So I want to say thank you to Michael for being here the whole time. Andres, thanks for hopping in. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, this is a fun conversation, Michael. It was good talking to you, man. I think you're one of the good ones. You're one of the ones that.
Are we going to stick around after your show closes down just for a few minutes?
If you need me to stick around for a few minutes, I could do that for you if you want. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the normal. We didn't even get to the things that I wanted to talk to today. And by the way, I guess we'll talk about this stuff on Monday. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Patrick and the Vetted show. So we'll talk about that on Monday, and his platforming of Ashton Forbes and his nonsense and what happened to this show. Because I know when it started with a very similar mindset to Lou Reviews and trying to cut through the bullshit and the smoke and the noise. But the second he got some attention and likes and promotion from a Jeremy Corbell, it seems like he's changed. So I want to discuss that, because a lot of the things that this guy is doing, I find a lot of similarities in what happened with my show. It's very, very similar. So we'll talk about that on Monday. We've got some things, some other things I wanted to show this video of drone swarms landing after a show, which is fucking amazing. So we'll get into that. Of course, Corn People and Cosmic Judas. But yeah, you guys, this was a fun show. I hope you guys had a killer 4th of July. And if you didn't celebrate the 4th, if you're out there in Australia or the UK or wherever my fans are in the world, thanks for listening, by the way. Appreciate all of your love and support. It's been incredible. I really have fun doing this show. I'm having more fun every time I do it. You guys surprise me at every turn. I really, in both good and bad ways. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest. If you have the rest of the week off, enjoy the shit out of it. You're overworked, you're underpaid, just like everybody else. And goddamn it, enjoy this time if you can. If you're one of those out there working through holidays, I've been in your shoes. I have been there. It sucks. It's the worst. I feel your pain, and I hope this show sort of brings you a little bit of relief if you listen to it during those times. By the way, this show will be up on our podcast by tomorrow. And again, if you guys haven't found the podcast, or if you want to listen to the show on the road, check out the link below. All of the link tree links to my podcast, Twitter, all that stuff. So one link to rule them all. Want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Pat Calabria, thank you for the last second $5 donation in Super Chat. Been here since UCR's 4th podcast. Mwah. Love you, Pat. You're the man, dude. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the donation and the support. Mama's Dope Boy, Steve Long, Drummer 3354, Wise Monkey, Bobby Broadway, all of you guys, Bradbury, all of my donations, all of the love, you guys. Thank you so damn much. Michelle, if you're still watching, I love you to the ends of the earth. I don't know I was just trying to make something bigger, but to the ends of the earth, that's a pretty long way. So that's a lot of love. So you should be grateful that I love you that much, to be honest. Sandra McDonald, thanks for the love. And I think that's it, you guys. Before you get out of here, if you haven't already, you stuck around and watched this long, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't, hit that like, share, subscribe button. Thank you for tuning into Lou Reviews. Want to give a shout out to our newest sub, Carlos Estevez, who subbed a couple of days ago. So appreciate that. And Health Sparks B, Vancouver guy, and Asynchrony. You guys, thank you so much for the subscriptions. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys on the flip side, aka Monday. Peace out.
Thanks, Lou.